welcome to You're Wrong About Musicals. I'm Esme,
And I'm Nell.
and today we are going to be finally talking about Operation Mincemeat.
Hell yeah, our favorite
Yeah,
show ever.
we love Operation Mincemeat so much. I can't even take it as a bit anymore. No. I realized that when we walked out of it, when we saw it, we came up with a episode name, like an episode title for it. We can't use that.
No, we can't.
No. It came back up because we had it written down on like in the document, and I was like, oh, that's funny, but we can't say that.
It's hilarious. I can promise you the episode
So
title is hilarious.
funny.
I just can't say it.
You just can't. Some people would either find it really funny or be like, what the fuck have they done? Like,
Yeah.
that's just a bad joke. But for us, it's the funniest thing we've ever come up with. We have some news. Some stuff's been happening this week. The discourse machine is in full swing. Joy. I took a couple of days off from the internet, kind of, and then I had to come back in full swing and be like, no, you're all wrong about the discourse. Um, First and foremost, Evita had its first previews. I've seen Evita. Loved it. Of course, I was always going to. So one ends up coming in Goop. It's very weird Oklahoma. Don't forget your history, kids. Remember weird Oklahoma. But the discourse is in full swing about everything. Like
Yeah.
every
I don't think
part of the
s-
production.
someone has a problem with every part of the production.
Despite the fact that like they've not seen it, they heard something out of context and was like, why is Che in his underwear? I have a theory as to why Che's in his underwear, by the way. Why is she outside? It's a cool effect that adds to what Jamie Lloyd's saying about modern celebrity. Uh, what else have they been saying? Why are there no costumes? It's a Jamie Lloyd production. What do you expect to happen? You know? Um, like the one thing I will say is that the crowd is insane for Don't Cry for Me Argentina. When I got to the theatre, there were already people starting to line up for the barrier, getting barricade for Don't Cry for Me Argentina, which is a hilarious concept. Um, so if you want to do that, go early. But most importantly, Don't Cry for Me Argentina will be out on the 4th of July. I would love a Rainbow Tour. That's my one where I'm like, please put it on streaming. Or the opening, the entire opening, all in one. Can that electric guitar, which is so loud that you actually can't hear Rachel Zegler's entrance applause. Can that be put on streaming? I need
I
to
think you
blow
just
my ears
want a
out.
cast recording.
I,
You
I
just want
want
a recording of that.
let's be real here, guys. I want a live cast recording. Um, Andy, please get. You've done a really good job on the orchestrations. I'm a massive fan of them. Can you please get me a cast recording now? Live cast recording. That'd be epic. That'd be so cool. Anyway, Stereophonic opened to great reviews. I saw it again. I'm back in London, if you couldn't tell. Loved it. Great time at Stereophonic. Wish they were a real band. Actually, don't, because they all hate each other and they take it out on my poor boy Grover. Um, Now this next one, me and Nell have been pondering why just now, and I can't say I'm. Basically, Benjamin Button announced it was closing, which was a massive shock to me. Like, if you had to be like to me a week ago, what show do you think, what show on the West End is going to announce it's closing next? I would have been able to come up with something, but it wouldn't have been Benjamin Button. I thought it would run for 2 years at least. Especially since it just won the Olivier and the Ambassadors is a tiny theatre. And I was a bit mid when I saw it, but I think actually on reflection and listening to the cast recording a couple of times, some of that was due to the fact that I was just in a bad mood that day. Anything else I'd like to say on it? There are we were trying to work out whether or not it was closing due to low ticket sales or something else wanted the Ambassadors, or there's a rumor that it's going to Broadway.
We couldn't come up with it could be any of those because both of us were like, the ticket sales must be through the roof. But then we looked for like the performance tonight, and there weren't a ton of tickets, but
Yeah.
there were enough tickets. I was like, strange.
And I think people should go see Benjamin Button. We've talked about it
Huh?
seriously. And I think people
Yeah,
should go see Benjamin Button. We've talked about it seriously.
yeah. Um, I also just think it's strange because they've done all of this. stuff in the theatre, like their
Yes.
pub
Yes.
and their little solo theatre goers section.
Yeah, and on the walls, they have like all of these great framed newspaper clippings that are like F. Scott Fitzgerald puns. So they've like decorated the place in a way a lot of West
Hmm.
End theatres don't.
Yeah. So it does make me think that I don't think like forced out is the right way to phrase it.
Mm.
But it does seem like something else has had the ambassador booked for
Yes,
a
because
while.
I mean it did kind of market itself as a limited run, but as of the show we're about to discuss today, limited run is used quite liberally in the West End at the moment.
Kids these days don't know what a limited run is.
They don't understand it, and I was getting that way about Benjamin Button. I was like, could it just say it's an open-ended run? Like, I don't get why they're doing the limited run model. And then they were like, oh, we're actually closing at the end of this extension. And I was like, oh, so you were a limited run. Good to
Yeah.
know.
I was like, in my head, I don't think it would do that well on Broadway
Mm-mm,
because
mm-mm.
I think it's a very, very British show. But we both said the same thing about Mincemeat, and that's doing pretty well on Broadway.
I think Benjamin Button's a better show than Mincemeat. And if there were to be one show that would do really, really well on Broadway, I would want it to be Benjamin Button. I just worry because it's such a small, intimate show. It's at a very small theatre at the moment. There's not a small enough theatre on Broadway for them to go into. I would want them to go to like the booth, which is a tiny, tiny fit, like it's this one of the smallest Broadway theatres. Um, but I also I deeply, deeply worry about Americans doing that accent because it's such a specific regional one.
Hmm.
Should I tell you who I would actually like to see as Benjamin Button? This just came to me right now. Brian Darcy James.
Yeah,
I think he could do a really good Benjamin Button. We don't know what's going on with
yeah. I
Benjamin
think it's the
Button.
thing of I don't. I think it's because I haven't actually like watched the show for it. I really want to.
Mm.
Also, having looked at like looking at ticket sales for it, and by that what we mean we're doing is we're going on to Datix and seeing what's
Yeah,
available
we're
on
doing.
like various nights.
Yeah, we are like doing a big pool of different ticket sales.
Yeah. Um, but if their cheapest tickets are 40 to book in advance,
They have Rush for cheaper
yeah,
that
but
we could do around like September time.
yeah.
I just assumed they were doing well a lot better ticket wise because I didn't because normally when a show is struggling they do a lot of discounts
Mm,
and there were not many discounts about for Benjamin Button. And looking back on it, Mean Girls were doing some discounts.
yeah.
I was just a bit
The
like,
thing
yeah,
is,
big theatre.
maybe it is people just doing Rush for it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like maybe it's most of its ticket sales are through Rush because the price they have like three price points, which in fairness, very small theatre.
Yeah, and they do have three price points and two very accessible rushes, so I'm gonna let them. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
that checks out to me.
yeah. I really do hope that it is just transferring to a different theatre because something else has the ambassadors.
Yeah, yeah, I am curious to see what goes into the ambassadors because it is such a tiny, tiny theater, and I was like, oh, great, this tiny theater that's like kind of weird has got a show in it that will bring in money and be stay put there for a while, you know? Um,
We did say Comet should go in.
I say
Um,
Comet, O'Mary, but mainly Comet. Comet, like in that production needs a small theater.
yeah.
The Old Witch, that's what it's called. So we were talking about the Tina Turner theater, and we were like.
This is the second week in a row where we've forgotten the name of the old witch.
Because it's just the Tina Turner theatre, because it's been there for
Yeah,
years. And also we've never been.
yeah.
Um, and we don't walk past it very often because it's like right on the Strand. But I'm looking at my comment poster now, I'm going, go to one of those theatres, girly. Yeah, there's a lot of closing this week, guys. I fear we're heading into the time of year because for the next two as well, normally post Tony nominations, we see some closing announcements. This year we didn't see that. Or in January we see some closing announcements and some closings happen. Again, we didn't see that this year in January. So in the next couple of weeks, I'm not obviously rooting for any shows to close.
Hmm.
However, the grosses are publicly available, and there is a
Yeah.
historic trend of shows closing around
I think
certain.
also as we're now going into summer,
Yeah.
where it's going to be like kids off school, people going on holidays
Yes, yes,
to New
yes.
York, big Broadway is going to want to fill up those theaters with things they know will sell.
Yeah, and I mean when you've got a revival of Chess starring
Mm,
Leah Michele and Aaron Tveit that needs a theatre, and I assume the reason why they've not announced that theatre is because whatever theatre they have has an announced closing. Something's gonna close between now and whatever Chess is.
yeah.
But Cabaret announced that they would be closing, with Marisha Wallace and Billy Porter. Billy Porter's had an insane week. So is Marisha
Oh
Wallace. She
yeah.
got an album. But Billy Porter was also announced as what's his name?
Mango.
Man. It's not
It's
Magnus.
Magno.
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 If we said mango for a
Mango.
second. If we
I
said
did say
mango.
mango.
So that's annoying. It's something more fuck ass. Billy Porter as a capital stylist is like fork in draw. Glenn Close is also going to be Drusilla, which is outstanding.
Gonna be great.
I think they should let her wear her Norma Desmond outfit, and I know it's very important to summarize what she's wearing, but once you guys just let her wear a Norma Desmond outfit again so she can get out of her system. Um, I'm not surprised by Cabaret's closing. It needed to make something crazy like $1.5 million every week to make money
Mm.
because it's so expensive over there. And it wasn't like when Cabaret opened here, it was the buzziest of buzzy shows. Whereas on Broadway it wasn't really. Like I feel like if there was a revival last season that was buzzy, it was Merrily.
Mm.
So yeah. Real Women Have Curves is unfortunately closing as well. Sad. I really like some of that score. I don't know too much about it other than that, and I've seen the movie that it's based on, but sad. Um, Lynn Manuel Miranda and is it George? I wrote that down really badly.
No,
How do you say that man's name?
I'm chewing. Hold on.
Nell's eating ice because it's boiling here today.
It's so hot. It's like 30 degrees where I am. I've got work tomorrow and it's gonna be hotter.
Guys, England's not made for heat, so if English people are complaining about the heat this week, it's boiling.
It's fucking boiling.
I've been on the
Um,
tube this week. It's been hell.
yeah. We're rushing through this episode so I can go to Sainsbury's and get picky bits for my dinner. Because I'm not thinking.
No, it's too
I'm
hot to
still
stand over.
slightly hungover. I want my picky bits.
It's
That's all. I'll to Mincemeat first.
you agreed to.
Yeah, I asked to do this one. Um, Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jorge Rivera parents met up.
Yeah,
Big news for some people. Me.
yeah.
I'm not even that big of an Epic fan. I haven't listened to anything from the second act.
Mm.
People keep telling me to. A girl at work, every single time I come in, she's like, have you listened to it? Have you watched the animatics?
There's animatics for this. Oh my
Girl,
God, what year is it?
it's a concept album. There's no other way to visualize it.
I know.
This artist who I have followed since 2020.
Mm.
Guess why? Uh,
Yeah, I
did
know
one
why.
of the animatics for it,
Oh,
and yeah,
that's cute.
that was really good. Um, but yeah,
Mm.
it's massive, and it's the kind of thing where I don't think like I saw like one tweet, to be fair, of someone being like, "Oh my God, Lin-Manuel Miranda is gonna stage Epic." No, he's not.
Guys, Lynn's not in the staging business. He's not a director, and I think he'd be the first. Well, he is a film director, but I don't think he's gonna stage a musical. And he needs to get his ass up and work on the Warriors some more because I need to see that on the stage.
It's that kind of thing where I think Warriors
Mm,
and Epic
mm,
work really, really well as concept albums because they're very interesting stories,
mm,
and it's really fun to see how they get retold for a musical.
hmm
But to actually put them on stage and try and get the visual aspect right,
hmm
in both cases, I feel like it's borderline impossible.
I've not listened to Epic, I'd like that to be known, and I don't really know too much about it because I'm not really interested in Greek mythology outside of Hades Town.
Hmm.
That's kind of where my interest in Greek mythology begins and ends.
I unfortunately, I've read all of Percy Jackson.
Yeah,
I
I have a complex about Percy Jackson.
I really like Greek mythology, okay? It's really
That's
cool.
so fair and so valid, and I wish I did, but you gotta add some Aeneas Mitchell songs
You
and
gotta
some
pick your battles.
Rachel Chavkin's staging for me to go, oh yes,
Yeah.
Greek mythology. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, sorry.
But I think,
I think sorry, what I was saying about Warriors
yeah, yeah.
versus Epic. I think Lynn has something that Epic doesn't. The Warriors has something that Epic doesn't, and that is money.
And in my head, I think that's why it's very interesting that these two, met up.
Yeah, I saw that they met up and like so I realized that it was the Epic guy and I was like, "Oh, that's like really nice of Lynn."
Because either I think, it's a meeting of the minds where they're just like, here's what it's like writing a musical from scratch.
Yeah.
Something that, like a very weird musical.
hmm
How do I get that onto a stage?
Yeah.
Because, like, guys, forget that Hamilton exists for a second. Try and pitch it to someone.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
try and pitch the concept of Hamilton
Or even in the
to
Heights.
In the Heights.
Oh my God.
Bring It On, I think you get away with.
Bring It On Right
Um,
is the movie.
is the movie. But
Or
yeah,
Warriors.
yeah. Like they're weird concepts.
Mm.
It's how do you get that onto a stage successfully?
Yeah.
And I think the two big things with both of these musicals is just the amount of locations and the scale
Yes.
of the locations.
Yes.
Because Epic starts um obviously the story of Epic is that of the Odyssey.
Yeah, I don't know
It's about this guy, Odysseus, trying to get to Ithaca, his home, to see his wife and son again. He's been at war and he wants to go home. And it takes him a while. It
that.
takes
As it
him a
often
while.
does in Greek mythology.
Yeah. He goes to the underworld for a bit.
Oh, I know that one.
So it's like it starts
Is
in
Hades in it? Because I've seen that.
yes.
Yeah. Well, he's king of the underworld. I know that one.
Yeah. It starts in Troy
Mm,
with them fighting a war.
mm.
And then they're at sea, and then they're on the Cyclops Island, the Lotus Eaters Island, that's what it's actually called, I think.
Mm.
And then, they're all over. They go to like Circe's Island,
Yeah.
Circe's area. They go to Calypso, they go to the underworld, they're at sea again, they go back to Ithaca. They're all very, very different places. Like, how are
Yeah.
you going to do the boat on the same stage that you're going to do the underworld and Ithaca and Calypso's Island and the Lotus Eaters Island and Troy?
That's a lot. You either do no set or so much set.
And I think that's the thing is in some cases, like with Hamilton, I think no set works because it's about the building of a nation. They're using a ton of scaffolding. Like it
Yeah,
looks in
guys,
progress.
Hamilton's so genius.
Don't talk to me. Don't get me started on
We
sets.
rediscovered the genius of Hamilton a couple of weeks ago.
We rewatched it. It was really good.
We were
Uh, whereas I think with Epic, like it's you know what, like say what you will about Jamie Lloyd, and like what he did with Sunset Boulevard and how it worked stripping it back, or whether it didn't because of what Sunset Boulevard is.
Guys of Vita works. Hey,
If I bought tickets to a musical called Pick and I
yes.
walked into a theater and there was zero set for the like 3 hours I was in that, I would be furious. I would like genuinely be angry. Like I do not care. I don't care what the creative vision is. If your musical is called Pick, it needs a fucking set. Like let's get that out of the way.
There's also a way, like I wouldn't call um the Hamilton set minimalist because it's still got the turntable, it's still got the walkway.
It's not minimalist in what's like actually on the no, it's not minimalist in what's used, it's what's minimalist in what's on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
As in, like, they don't have a house that shows up for when they're in a house. They have
Yeah.
a desk that goes on stage.
They don't have like Eliza rolling in with a pregnant belly on like some house that folds out.
No, they've like, you know, there is no difference between the battlefield in Act One and the
The duel.
the duel or like Congress when they're having the cabinet battles.
Yeah.
It's all in like the building of a nation. It's
Mm-hmm.
all like scaffolding. Um yeah, and I think with Warriors, it's a very similar thing of how do you the whole plot of Warriors is them going all around fucking New York. But I will say, Warriors would make a fucking great immersive piece of theatre.
Warriors would make, yeah.
It would be the bane of everyone who lives in New York. Imagine you're trying to get home from work,
Oh, yeah.
and here comes the 6:30 p.m. showing of Warriors. You know, they're fighting on the train again. There's 50 tourists in the carriage with you,
Nah,
and you
Sarah
just
out
want to
again.
get home.
No, Sarah out again. That must what it that must what it be must
That
I
was what
do
it'd be like.
must what it be like. It's too hot for me to function. To be walking down Oxford Street at the moment. Nurse, they're out again.
Nurse.
Nurse, the people are being people of Argentina. Also, I'd like it to be known I was very late to the Jamie Lloyd joke this week. I was like 3 days late because I had his name muted on Twitter.
I was there. I thought all of your jokes were hilarious.
I thought they were funny when I realized.
Um, but yeah, basically, I think this is a very, very interesting meetup.
Yeah, no, I mean,
You know,
Lynn
I
is handing over
I
the
want to
keys,
be in the room where it happens.
a fly on the wall when the two of them are meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, as is all right. This was massive for all of us. So, film updates has been kind of in family business for a while, and we've been all saying film updates stay out of family business. However, film updates posted a photo of Danae Benton because she's in the Gilded Age, and someone responded, film updates, name 5 great Comet songs, and they replied with 5 great Comet songs, and they were great songs.
It was like no one else, number one.
Yeah,
The Private Intimate Life.
or the Blonskis.
Yeah. Balaga was like number 5, I think, which is fair because Balaga's a great song, but I wouldn't put it any higher than 5.
No, like seeing Balaga live was one of the greatest experiences of my life. However,
Hold on, I'm finding the tweet. I want to see what their top 5 were again. No one else, Private Intimate Life of the House, The Duel, The Ball, Balaga.
see, having the ball is a sign that they're a real Great Comet fan because you have to understand Great Comet to understand the genius of the ball. Seeing the ball was one of the best moments of theatrical that I've ever seen. Anywho,
Anywho,
Tom Francis announced he's leaving. Tom Francis updates.
Tom Francis updates.
Crushing out. Tom Francis announced that he is leaving Sunset Boulevard 2 weeks early. Yeah.
How will Soda Scout recover from this?
He's leaving Sunset to focus on his TikToking career. He's leaving to do a movie.
See, actually.
Yeah.
What movie?
Apparently it's about football, but I'm getting my Tom Francis updates from Tom Francis Updates, who is not a Tom Francis Update account.
Yeah.
Because they just tweeted out something like, I hope your football movie flops. Oh, it's a World War II film. Okay.
Huh?
It's a World War II film.
Oh, incredible.
Mosquito Bowl, Game of Life and Death in World War II. After Pearl Harbor. Oh, it is a football film. It's a football film and a war film. Tom Francis, I will not be watching.
I will be. Me and my dad will be in the cinema.
Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be a great film. Just two words to not make me want to go see a film. War and football. American football.
Incredible.
No. Um, this was massive. This was absolutely massive for us. Jinx Monsoon as Mary Todd Lincoln.
And Jinx Monsoon, who played O, she gave it her all.
Everything. Uh, I'm buzzed by
Every single time they announce a new cast,
a new O'Mary.
for O'Mary, we say we have to go, and then we don't go.
If
But
we
I feel
could,
we have to go.
if we could go, we would though. And that's what
Yeah.
matters. In our hearts, we're at O'Mary.
Yeah.
Anyway. Miss Saigon announced further casting stops. That's not words. Miss Saigon announced casting and further tour stops. They have finally announced a tour stop that I can get to, so I'm jazzed about that. They have cast another 17-year-old girl off the streets as Kim, though. Miss Saigon,
Yay.
I will be going.
Oh, the
Barney.
Be More Chill cast got announced as well, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh my God! Because there's that theatre in Manchester or something that's doing Be More Chill, and then Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. And they've announced their Be More Chill cast.
Forgot about that.
The only other thing that I forgot about, Disney Frozen Pro Shot out on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah.
Right now.
Right now, if you want to go watch Frozen, even though it's hotter than anything else right now, you can.
Yeah.
Barnum is touring. I don't have much interest in Barnum, although I feel like I like it more than The Greatest Showman, because I really don't like The Greatest Showman.
I did see someone point out that there are going to be like Barnum shows on at the same time in the UK.
Oh my God, yeah, because
Come Alive, The Greatest Showman, and Barnum.
The Greatest Showman is going to be in Bristol soon. Well, they can't do a tour. The Barnum tour can't do a tour stop in Bristol. The Greatest Showman's happening there. Still find that wild. Les Mis 40th anniversary cast.
My sister is distraught.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers.
Because Joe Griffiths Brown is leaving Phantom.
Has he done Les Mis before? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I can look, but I don't think. Hold on, should I get my program out?
I did see someone say that I did see someone make the joke that for the past 2 years or so, it's just been the same two women trading off as Fontaine, being Katie Hall and Lucy Jones. I was like, yep, that is true. That is factually correct. No. I think it's like 8 weeks or something. I don't know. Anyway, happy birthday, Les Mitters. You're great. Mike Feist is doing a play off Broadway this Christmas. Good for Mike Feist. Anywho, are we ready to talk about Operation Micemeat finally?
No.
Yeah. Operation Mincemeat is a musical with music, lyrics, and a book by David Cumming, Felix Hagen, Natasha Hodgson, and Zoe Roberts. or they are otherwise known as the split lip, which was created in 2017 with the aim of making big, dumb musicals. They met as students at the University of Warwick. Because of course they did. A place I already had beef with. That's a joke. I have nothing against the people of Split Lip, really. Um, and to quote Esquire magazine and the program, I remember this from the program. It's changed for Broadway, but they have little in the way of classical training. Okay. Operation Mincemeat was a deception conceived by British intelligence to fool the Germans regarding the true target of the Allied invasion of Sicily. A dead body would be planted off the coast of Spain, carrying secret documents, purported, to reveal that targets of the forthcoming invasion would be Greece and Sardinia, with Sicily only intended to franked. To ensure that the Germans swallowed the deception, it was necessary to create a detailed false identity for the body, that which was a homeless labourer who had died by swallowing rat poison. The secret operation, which involved dressing a corpse as a major in the Royal Marines and giving it a false identity of William Martin. Appropriate identification documents and papers would give the body personality and background. These included a photograph of Major Martin's fiancée and receipts of an engagement ring, a fish ticket stub, and other evidence. Early on, I can't speak today. Early on, 30th of April 1943, the body of Major Martin was launched into the sea from the British submarine and left to drift over a mile off the coast of the southern Spanish coast. Once recovered by the Spanish authorities, the secret documents of the body were carried covertly, opened, photographed, and passed via Nazi sympathizers to German intelligence officers in Spain. The Germans acted swiftly on the false information by doubling the numbers of troops sent to Sardinia, while many additional German divisions were also transferred to Greece and the Balkans. The Allied invasion of Sicily was launched on 9th of July 1943, and as intended, provided a huge surprise for the German defenders. In just over a month, the island was fully captured by the Allies, and the lack of enemy reinforcements has proven a deciding factor of the success. Papers of the naval intelligence officer Ewan Montagu have been deposited in the archives for the Imperial War Museum, and military officers and political agreements determine the future of fighting between the Allies and Axis. While more personal records on the direct impact of the fate of individuals and, in some cases, society itself. Ben Macintyre would write a book about the mission called Operation Micemeat, a true story that changed the course of World War II. And to quote him, they went completely over the top and they went completely nuts on it, selling 342,000 copies in the UK. He says the scheme was dreamt up by frustrated novelists sitting in a subterranean room in the Admiralty. They enjoyed coercing and convincing character from the corpse by stuffing a wallet litter in his pocket, stamps, receipts, faked love letters from a fiancé reading. Darling, why did we have to meet in such the middle of the war? That's such a silly thing for anybody to do. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So back to Split Lip after a quick World War II history lesson. Because I didn't actually know about this until the musical, really.
Hmm.
They didn't really. Did we skip over World War II in history?
Yeah.
So.
We did our coursework for A level was causes of World War One, but we didn't do World War One. The British experience of warfare in A level was up to 19, I think technically 18, or technically 14.
Yeah, it cut off like right before.
You basically just had to say, and then a big war happened.
And then a world war
Anyways,
happened.
and then pre-GCSE we did Weimar Republic.
Yes.
And then we did um
And then we did the Cold.
or GC we did Weimar Republic and the rise of Nazi Germany.
Yes.
And then that ended in like 38. So right
Yeah.
before the outbreak of World War Two.
Yeah, right
And then
before
we did
the Poland.
then we did the Cold War for GCSE.
Which picked up like right as the armistice was being signed.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't know too much about World War Two, actually, like what happened.
I do because my dad was one of those guys.
Okay, yeah, I know. I think
But
my dad's
it's
powers.
yeah. It is really interesting, obviously.
Yeah, no. I think it's a good story, and I mean the success of the book, and there also is a film about it in 2021 with Colin Firth. So it makes sense to me that this has gone on to be a story that people are fascinated by because it's an interesting story.
Yeah.
Split Lip were inspired by Legally Blonde, Avenue Q, and the Book of Mormon. Um, they tried their hand at writing a musical in 2017 because they'd never done one before. They struggled for inspiration until they stumbled upon Stuff You Should Know podcast about Operation Mincemeat. You listen to this very true story, and it's impossible to come away from it without thinking, well, that's objectively the funniest thing to have ever happened. And I agree with the sentiment of there's a lot of humour to be found in history
Yeah.
and in these very stressful and intense moments. There was just a lot of insane stuff happening.
Yeah.
We find it so strange that there have been so many serious adaptations of this because we were like, how can you read this and not want to have fun? We took these stumbling steps. In their first draft, Split Lip forgot to include any songs in Act 2. They wrote in their spare times and were rejected from the Arts Council funding 3 times. It was a 4th time lucky. When it came time for their first production, it would be at the New Diorama Theatre, just off of Regent's Park, which is an 80-seater, after being commissioned by the Lowry. The Lowry's up in Manchester, and I don't think they've ever actually had a production there. And I think the first time a production will happen will be when they go on their UK tour, which is interesting. It would open in May of 2019 in the New Diorama Theatre, with many of the cast members of Split Lip joining the cast. As Natasha Hodgson would say, we were in it because we couldn't afford to pay anyone else. David Cumming would say, in the beginning we just cast whoever was funniest for the part. As a result, the show became quietly queer. This would be when Jack Malone and Claire Marie Hall would be cast in the remaining roles as Hester and Jean Leslie. It would run for 5 weeks there. What's on Stage would review it and give it 5 stars. Operation Mincemeat would sink without
The start of a trend that you might begin to notice.
Well, I have found, and I've been aware of this since I first looked into it when it was pissing me off. I was like, there's no way it's got this many 5-star reviews. There's no way every single publication has given it 5-star reviews, and that's not actually true.
They have had like 1 million by now.
Last figure I read was 73, but I think it's up in the hundreds now.
Bring the board back out. Bring up your 6-foot tall A board that you stand outside the Fortune Theatre so I can go and see how many 5-star reviews you have.
Well, we once had a really long debate about how tall the board was.
It is like 6 foot tall.
It is massive, but we were like, it's tiny, it's not that big. And then we're like, no, it's taller than both of us.
It's because we saw it from a distance once and we were like, that's hilarious. They have an A board of just like their 5-star reviews. That's great, marketing.
Yeah.
And then because we didn't really look at it that much,
we were on our way to Hades Town. We had other things on the brain.
Yeah.
First time.
In my head, it was just like a restaurant kind of size A board, like where they just have come inside for specials. And then we were walking past it again. And it wasn't out.
No.
We had to go and like look down.
It was
look
round
through a window.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're like, oh, that's bigger than both of us. That's like 6 foot tall.
We're like, wait, that's
fit all of their 5 stars on.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's hilarious. But I think what they've done is that they've counted all of the 5-star reviews that they've had up until opening as well.
Yeah, I think we did talk about this. Is it's not just the West End production that
Yes,
they're saying
yeah,
has all of these 5-star reviews. It's all of their productions.
it's all of their productions, which I know is legal. To me, it feels like a bit of a lie.
I guess it kind of depends on how much has changed.
It doesn't seem like a lot has changed though, so I'm a bit like I'm kind of in the middle about it where I see both sides.
I can't even like fuck if I had the ability to say that a show that I wrote by myself and star in
Yeah,
has a million 5-star reviews
yeah.
and technically not be lying,
Yeah, and have the advertising agencies go, yeah, that's not a lie.
I would say it.
Yeah. I do like I think though the whole like we have the most 5-star reviews of any show on the West End did attribute to my seeing it and then going, this has the most 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
You know? Like if I had that context
There's
taken out.
we'll definitely talk about it because I think it's still in the notes I wrote when we first saw it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I think I put a screenshot in. If not, I still have the screenshot.
Yes, I think this I left in all the images. I didn't touch it.
Okay. Um, this theatre reviewer,
Yeah, that's included. I reread it today. It's very
yeah,
good.
he basically just said that he thinks that part of uh I don't remember what the phrase he specifically uses. I'll read it when we get there.
Mm,
But he's basically like, I think Mincemeat is limited by how successful it is because
mm.
when you're going to see it, every single advertisement, every single person you talk to is like, it has a million 5-star reviews. It's the best show on the West End right now.
Yes.
It's everyone loves it. You will like it is. People go and see it a million times.
It is the
Like
second coming of Hamilton.
yeah, they're like this is the show
Yes.
of like British theatre. Like this is like the best thing we've ever put out.
We
And
are
you're
in
like,
the
oh
80s
holy shit, this
again.
is going to be incredible.
The British are leading the like fort charge on musical theatre again.
And it's just nothing is ever going to live up to that. Like
Mm-mm.
people told me that about Phantom, and I went to go see it, and I was like, it was good, but it wasn't that good. And I
Yeah.
stand by that. I think Phantom is a really good show.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth all the hype it gets. People are like, this is the best musical ever written.
I don't
Sure, I'd go that far.
I don't think it's the best Andy.
Exactly. It's even the same with something like Great Comet. Like, I can listen to a million different people talk about how Great Comet is, and I will agree with them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't think that it would ever be worth 76 5-star reviews or whatever it
I
is.
mean, it got very good reviews when it came out in the West End, but everyone was like, it's kind of hard to follow and it is long. And I was like, yes, if you like go into Comet blind, you are like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
And I have been thinking, especially with Vita, where I'm like, read a plot description before you go in because it's not really caring about the plot. I'm like, is a piece of theatre successful then if you have no idea what's going on and you haven't read plot synopsis?
Yeah. And I think this is an issue that a lot of shows face of
Mm-hmm.
how do you market it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very easy for something like Sunset Boulevard to do number one, word of mouth, and like all press is good press.
Yes.
And that the amount of people talking about it and all of the clips of Tom Francis walking down the road. And also, look who's playing Norma Desmond, Nicole Scherzinger.
Nicole Scherzinger is Norma Desmond.
Like all of that worked very well for both like official marketing and just how people were talking about it.
Yeah.
And then with like shows like Hamilton and even stuff like Phantom and Les Mis now, it's just how
Yeah.
long it's been there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It's
Hamilton are
just
very much
well, you
doing
kind of
a 10 thing this year.
yeah. And a lot of the stuff around like all of the shows is just you just need to go see it. Like it's one of those shows you just need to see.
But they're also appealing to a different audience than I think Mincemeat are. They're appealing to the tourists. They're like, we're a
Yeah.
classic. You know you're going to get quality when you see us.
And like I'm trying to think of it now, is I don't know how else you would market Mincemeat. Like
Mincemeat,
what else could you say that would get people
because they're
because
still
it's
they're
a really weird pitch again.
they
Like
are
we were saying
yeah. Because they're still running with the best reviewed show on the West End, even on Broadway. Because I was like, on Broadway that won't fly, but they are.
Because I mean, you can't really pitch that like, hey, you remember World War Two?
Yeah.
We've got a fucking comedy about it.
You guys, you got a comedy about World War Two?
We have got a comedy about that really famous event World War Two. We've got a comedy about a bit of it you've never heard about.
Yes.
Come and watch. That like I've said I'm interested in World War Two. I think it's a very interesting time. That wouldn't get me in the door.
No.
Like ignoring what I think about Mincemeat regardless, having seen it.
Mm.
If a show tried to market itself to me like that, that would not get me in the door. It might make me interested, being like, oh, that's strange,
Maybe
but
they
you're not
go into
giving me
the
anything.
maybe they go into the untold story part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's like, how Hamilton had
Mm.
like 5 years when the pro shot came around, there was a sudden blowback against Hamilton.
Yeah.
It feels like that where it's like it's gotten so big where it's like there's nothing that can live up to those expectations for some people, and I think I fell into that camp.
Yeah.
Whereas when we went to go see Groundhog Day, I had like some expectations because I listened to the cast album and it was Tim Minchin. But like I think you and like the two other people we went with went in with no expectations and had a great time because they were like, I didn't know what to expect from this, and
Yeah.
it was exceptional.
I think it's what like both of us do try to make an effort to go into most shows blind.
Yeah.
Like
Or
when
like
it's not something that we are waiting, when we're not like waiting to go and see a show.
mhm.
Like obviously with something like Great Comet, to an extent we did go in blind because it was a different production.
I kind of like if I know I'm seeing a different production or something, I will stay away from material about that production because I want to like leave anything at the door.
Yeah. And we tried to do the same with Mincemeat, but I think part of that was just that there wasn't a ton of information on it.
And everything that was saying was like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, like we weren't getting anyone who were like, oh, the show wasn't that great. Here's the bits I didn't like. So I think if we'd gotten even one negative review of it,
Yeah.
we would have, I think, gone in with lower expectations. But
Or even just a bit
everyone
more
loved it.
debate,
Yeah.
other than just being like, this is amazing. I loved it so much. Best thing ever. And there was nothing like, why is it good to you? It was just, this is the best thing ever. It's so funny. And then when I was sat there, I was like, I'm not laughing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Let's continue. This
but
isn't even our thoughts, but I've
no,
got more to say.
I have constructive criticism. Um,
Yeah.
They would say, What's on Stage would give it 5 stars and say Operation Mincemeat would sink without its near incessant humor. Every line and tune is mined for its comedic potential. Um, it would be easy to say that the show's whimsy to run away from itself, but the cast of five interject enough warmth and authenticity into the virtue trove of its different characters to keep the pace grounded, defying both expectations and characterizations. Operation Mincemeat is 2 acts of glib humor and glow with theatrical invention and delivers laughs by the gallons. Um, this would be where producer John Faraday would come see the show for the first time and being quoted as saying, "I'm very interested in helping new talent to rise to the top." Now, okay, here, if I'm ever bitching about Operation Mincemeat and the way it's run, I'm bitching about this man.
Yeah.
I would like to have a serious sit-down conversation with him and talk to him about the way he operates Operation Mincemeat. And I do have probably our largest section is that interview he gave talking about why Operation Mincemeat is structured that way. Because like if we're gonna sit around and bitch about it, then we need to have his perspective.
Yeah.
But what he says one thing that and it really angers me. I was just like, anywho. Um, with his help, it would then play the Southwark Playhouse in 2020 and 2021 before moving to Riverside Studios. This would be around the time coming up through the fringe circuit that they would start creating and building the fan base known as Minfluencers. Um, when it would be time to transfer it to the West End, Faraday would say it was very, very hard to get a West End theatre. In the end, they ended up at the Fortune, which is a 432-seater and held women in black for 33 years. I didn't really think it was going to work. We knew that Women in Black had run its course and they needed a new show. During our tech rehearsals, there was more dust coming down from the ceiling than I had ever seen before. Yeah, that theatre is old and needs a reno
Yeah.
so badly.
Yeah.
As a result of this move, they would implement a pricing structure, which has come under fire from us, and other people are starting to wake up to it now. Because I've always thought it was weird. I would like to go on record. Say I've always thought it was weird and inaccessible, but other people have come around. And last year, actually last year to the day, because I
Mm.
remember where I was when I saw the article and went, for fuck's sakes, what the hell's happening? Do you want to know where I was?
Where?
I was at the Eras Tour Megastore.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like getting annoyed about Operation Micemeat, and then I turned my phone off and started being a Swiftie. um, yeah, so he would have to defend it in a paywalled article in the stage saying, um, the logic is we're not fans of shows saying tickets from £15, tickets from £10. But when it really comes down to it, there's 4 tickets at that price, even in an 1,000-seater. We're not fans of being able to make a decent number of really good seats available to people who can't afford it. In our way of doing, which is different, uh, is to do that on Mondays and Tuesdays. The downsides of it is that we have to make up for it somewhere else in the week. It's not ideal, but we found our way around it. This is the interviewer. Looking at sales for tonight, the show is sold out on the first 2 levels. There's a lot of availability in the upper circle. Wouldn't you make more money if those seats were cheaper? This is his response. Well, firstly, we've been playing at 95% capacity since the beginning. We don't need to change the prices according to what cycle we're at the year. It's really hard to sell the last few seats, not because some of them are standing, and also because we actually like people to be able to see and buy seats on the day. So that's a separate thing. Our top price is $89.50. It's now gone up to $100. But that was as of the time of writing. And most musicals have top prices north of $100.
True. In fairness, true.
That is true, but they also have tickets for like £20. Uh, we would love to have another 150 seats to do what you're talking about, but we don't. We prefer the fact that people can actually pay £40 on a Monday for a seat in the stalls. We've deliberately taken the position of theatre in a theatre that, to be frank, does not have enough seats for us. I think what's causing the bad feeling about it is while it's laudable that there are no £125 seats, somebody on a low budget could only see it on a Saturday if they won the lottery, £25 lottery drawn every 2 weeks. But it means less well-off people can't plan to see it. That is again from the interviewer, and that's criticism we've leveled against the show as well.
Hmm.
They would say, you sound a bit annoyed by that. Basically, what I'm finding is that people like things that we're doing that are positive, right? Holding a lottery at £25, keeping Mondays at £40. Mondays have also gone up. They're now like £50.
Yeah.
I had people calling me going, why don't you put your Mondays up? I have deliberately wanted to keep it as accessible. I'm the interviewer then say, I'm more interested than annoyed, but in 15 years I have never seen a West End price structure like this one. You're right, there are less ups and downs. Say you get a seat for £15 for Les Mis, you're probably sat behind a pillar or something, but there's a reliable point of entry if you're on a budget, if you want to book advance for a Saturday night. Again, I agree with the interviewer. Like, as people who are sat behind pillars and like sat in bad seats, like there are also bad seats in the Fortune.
Yeah.
Like,
People have sat in them.
yeah, there's
I think,
railings in the way.
like, here's my issue with this, is what he's saying is But how great is it that on a Monday and Tuesday, for just 40 quid, you can sit in the front row of the stalls? Which is
Yeah,
true, that is a great price structure.
yeah.
But it's ignoring that it's a balance. So on the other side, for the worst seats in the theatre, you also have to pay 40 quid.
Also, let me check how much they are at now for the Monday and Tuesday because they've gone up. And also, but then on the
Yeah,
flip side, on a Saturday night, you're paying £100 for the worst seats in the theatre.
yeah.
That's what I don't get. That's the part where I'm like, you've lost me. Well, you see, if you want to go on a Saturday night, I agree with you, but I should go with the fact that we've got 427 seats in total and we do a lottery. Even though we could sell Saturday nights completely at full price, right up until the upper back circle, we deliberately include lottery seats on a Saturday that are not just in the upper circle. If we're managing for optics, we should have done the back two rows of the upper circle, like you say, available for £20 or whatever it is, and no one will complain, right? I would complain less, okay? I'm telling you right now.
I think it's the issue of him talking about like, oh, when you go and see Les Mis for £15, you have a pillar in your face.
Yeah.
Yes. You also have like a pillar in your face in the fortune, but you have to pay at least 40 quid for it.
You have a rail like if you're removing the railings and renovating that theatre, I would be a lot more happier.
Yeah.
Okay, so from currently, yeah, Monday nights are still at 40, but from the price increase, because I've read somewhere that they're going up. Yeah, they're going to be 50 from the price increase.
Jesus.
And Saturdays are £99.50.
I think that's the thing is we've said this multiple times now. I would love to go and see Operation Mincemeat again.
Yep.
Now that I don't have these like freakishly high expectations for it.
Mm.
Like when we get to our thoughts, we'll talk about it because there are parts of it that I really do like and that I think are really, really good.
There are parts of it that I'd like them to extend, and there are parts of them that I'd like them to be cut, and I think it could be amazing.
But there are like I think I could go and see it and genuinely enjoy the show
I
now
could
that I
walk out
know
of it and be like, yeah, I had a chuckle. What else could I ask for?
yeah, I could enjoy the show.
Yeah.
But I can't afford it.
No.
And I also like this lottery thing is while I'm still not living in London, like once I get back, it will probably change. I'll still be working.
Yeah.
Like right now, I can't. If I book in advance, I can get a day off work and go and see it.
Yes.
But I can't do that. If Esme enters the lottery and texts me and says, "Hey, can you come? We're going to see Operation Mincemeat tonight. I just won the lottery." I have to say no, I can't. I'm
I
working.
can't be
I
working.
can't get there in time. There's not enough time for me to
The
get a
way that
train.
they do the lottery is it's not on the day you find out. You find out like a week in advance.
Mm,
So that's a bit better. So I could text you and be like, when do you have off? But still, it's not.
yeah,
You have to fit it around what you're already doing.
yeah.
Um, um, they'll go, and then the interviewer would say, you're booking at the Fortune for quite a long time. Why don't you move to a larger house? Do you think uh you do a more conventional pricing structure? He replied, at one point, we hoped to go to the Trafalgar. Again, an amazing theatre for them. But if we'd gone there, we'd had to do, we done, wouldn't have done is done the thing where you go and sit in the stalls and one seat is priced as X and the other is priced as Y. I think that's bollocks.
And I get that. Like, I think there is an argument to be made about flat pricing sections.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, yes, if all of your stall seats on a Monday night were 50 quid,
Hmm.
and all of your like, God, how many
Upper
levels?
balcony,
Yeah, how many levels does the Fortune have?
free.
Because then, yeah, your like circle seats can be 30, and
Yeah.
all of your balcony seats can be 20.
Yeah.
I'd be like, it's still a little bit steep, but that's doable. But then same thing, if you wanted to do your like daily demand one, a
Mm.
Saturday you can still have all of your stall seats be 100,
Yeah.
all of your circle seats be like 80,
Yeah.
and all of your balcony seats be 50. And
Yeah.
I complain. Like I'm not denying that I'm always going to have an issue with it because I think it's a weird way to price your seats.
I think it's just inaccessible.
Yeah.
I truly believe it.
I think all of this argument about like how it is accessible because you can go to the stalls for cheap
Yeah.
is ignoring the flip side of that. One, that it's not cheap. It's cheap for the stalls, yes,
Yes. But it's not
but
cheap for
it's
the back of the theatre.
if tomorrow the Phantom of the Opera,
Hmm.
the musical,
Mm.
announced that they were going to have to put their prices up
Yeah.
because of the cost of living crisis.
Yeah.
And they were saying, all of our balcony seats now, instead of being like 25 quid,
Yeah.
they're all going to be 40.
And
Every single person in the world would have an issue with it.
we'd all be going, Andy's a billionaire, get a grip.
Everyone would say, how are people meant to go and see the Phantom of the Opera? Like, how are you meant to get people interested in theatre?
Yeah.
If your cheapest seats are 40
Mm-hmm.
and they're these really bad view ones.
Yeah.
It's my issue with him is he's being purposefully dense.
He's skirting around the issue and he's almost nitpicking the argument.
It's not even that. He's being purposefully dense. He's just ignoring it.
Yes,
Like
and
even this interviewer is saying your balcony seats are 40 quid. That's ridiculous. And he's saying the stall seats are 40 quid. Yes, but your
yeah,
balcony seats, that's ridiculous. But the stall seats are 40 quid. That's really cheap for stalls. But your balcony seats at the back of the balcony where you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, are 40 quid minimum.
because as you've said, the theatre is falling apart.
You've said the theatre's bad. You've said it needs a renovation. It does. And I would get if for like the first couple months you'd priced it like that.
Mm.
And then said, now that we've got the money to do renovations,
Hmm.
we're going to change it. And I would get it if they'd gone to Broadway and done the same seat like price structure.
Yeah,
They would respect it more because they'd be like, this is just their like
way of doing things.
ideology. This
Why
is how
is
they
it
think theatre should be run. That's fine.
why is it cheaper for me to go see Operation Mincemeat on Broadway on a regular day getting the cheapest seat than on the West End, where it's historically cheaper to run theatre? Not even using a rush or anything for Broadway. It's like $70 for the most expensive ticket, which in pounds is like 50 quid.
Yeah.
His next point really pisses me off.
God.
I wanted to ask about an explanation of the ballot. Recently, Monday tickets have been balloted, but now you have to enter a ballot to buy advanced seats for 5 out of the 8 weeks of shows when there's a new sales period. Again, highly unusual. What's your thinking? Well, we wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to buy Monday seats, which, while hot, are and still are white hot. But we also have a group rate every day, which most shows certainly don't do. If you bring 30 people on a Monday, you pay $19.50 on a ticket. If you bring 30 people on a Saturday, you pay 99 no, £69. Our problem is that people were buying online and bundle up their seats only to sell them for what appears to be a discount, but is actually a markup. We did it to avoid that. Yeah, me and my 30 homies are gonna go see Operation Mincemeat on a Monday night.
Like, can you imagine? Like, you say these nights are priced cheaper because there's less demand, because less people can go out on a Monday night.
That is capitalism, supply and demand, I guess.
But they're still 50 quid.
Yeah.
But if you only want to pay 20 quid for a ticket,
Yep.
just get 30 of your friends. It's not that hard, guys.
Not that hard. You guys don't have 30 of your closest friends who are free on a Monday night, so you can go see
Guys,
Operation Mincemeat, a new musical together?
get more people together than there are in this entire cast.
Yeah.
And like orchestra.
Yeah.
And come see Operation Micemeat, and then you only have to pay 20 quid.
Yeah. Get everyone free on the same night so you can go see Operation Mincemeat.
I think this is my issue. Like, I would
Also,
still have my
shows have group rates. How do you think school trips
yeah,
work to shows?
yeah.
Big idiot.
But I think this is my issue, is that regardless, I would still have problems with the musical. I'd
Yeah.
have bits I like, I'd have bits I don't like, and we'll get to it more, but I think I think the whole tone overall is just slightly skewed, and so it doesn't quite work for me.
I
But I'd be fine with it. Like I've seen multiple shows where I'm like, this isn't really like my show. Like it's fine. I'm not
no, it was
gonna
like when I saw
like
Mean
go to war
Girls.
for it.
It was like when I saw Mean Girls, I was like, I wouldn't like defend this anymore, but like if you like it, go ahead.
It's just the issue is the management of it,
Oh my God.
where its whole marketing in how the show was created was it's all grassroots. It's all these people who haven't been able to go into like the very expensive professional musical theatre training to write a musical. They haven't had this funding from like the Lloyd Webber Foundation, who gets
They
to like
get
control it
they
then.
get the Arts Council funding, which is taxpayer money, and I believe it's well spent taxpayer money because it earns itself back.
Yeah. It's about how they have worked their way up to get to get the musical to the state it's in. They only have five cast members on that stage
Yeah.
and they play all the roles. They're very hardworking. They're great at it.
Yeah.
And then you have a guy who comes on and talks about how accessible his ticket prices are,
Get fucked.
but expects you to drop minimum 50 quid on a ticket.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the part that pisses me off and
And
why I can't like the show.
yeah. And people are out in the streets complaining about Jamie Lloyd. Jamie Lloyd does access tickets.
Yeah. The thing is, Evita right now is selling probably for like, it's like we were just talking about this with Benjamin Button, that the
Mhm.
minimum price for a ticket was about like 45 quid.
Yeah, but they have two rush systems and I think a lottery.
Yeah. And I get that there are some ways that Mincemeat has accessible tickets like that.
Mm.
And I'll say I do think that 45 quid is a bit steep for Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
Like I probably won't go see it because it's going to be too expensive unless
Yeah.
I can get a rush.
Yeah.
And I think that's an issue.
Mm.
But like
Yeah.
he just pisses me off because he so clearly knows what everyone's issue with the pricing structure is.
Yeah.
That your
Yeah.
worst seats are the exact same price as your best.
Yeah. And the interview is trying to like make him understand that.
And he's just ignoring it.
It's like you sound annoyed. Yeah, I'm pissed. Yeah. Do I have anything else to say? I mean, are we gonna get to the point if Operation Mincemeat is still running in what 2 years, where it's like a £50, £150? Because the price has just been going up and up and up. And you could say that's due to inflation and the cost of living. My friend who's into maths told me inflation's not gone up that much,
Yeah.
which sounds very reliable. But like, in 2 years' time, if it's still running, which it probably will be because it's selling insanely well somehow, will we get to the point where the price is now £150 or something like that?
Probably.
Um, and there's something else I was about to say. Oh yeah, I worry that it being so expensive and every seat being so expensive will turn people off from wanting to go see any musical because they think it's so inaccessible to them.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, moving on. Anything else to say on the ticket? So we actually talk about the show.
I'm just
Seething.
it's so stupid and I could talk for hours, but it would just be me saying it's so stupid and it's so obviously stupid.
Yeah.
But
And it's one of those
whatever.
things where it's like I feel like everyone should agree it's stupid, but then I had people when I made a TikTok about it, like in the comments being like, Operation Micemeat, there are ways to get tickets. And I was like, okay, I know. It's still £100. £100 is a lot of money. Yeah, but there's other ways. £100 is a lot of money, all right? And then I just had to like quit arguing because I was like, you're never gonna see the point, but um anywho, the it would officially open on the West End in May 2023. Let's this is me being snarky after reading that review, after reading that interview, I was pissed. Um so the myth that it got all 5 stars when it transferred to the West End isn't true. The Guardian personally gave it 4 stars. They did give it a very nice review, but it isn't the 5 stars that I think I expected. They said a West End run is ultimate proof of concept from this irre irrepressible
Irrepressible.
irrepressible musical comedy and the ingenious ensemble who created and perform it. This is a show that can movingly celebrate the unsung women from the secretarial pool while also allowing them to express their frustrations in a beautifully choreographed Beyonce pastiche. There's pathos too. Among the gag-packed songs, those dignifying a dead man whose body was treated so cavalierly. The tight physical comedy from the Fringe original has translated well to a big stage with the aid of incoming director Rob Hasty. There has been a panache and polish applied throughout. From Ben Stone's new literal glitzy finale, only the strength of performers' voices is tested by the transfer, but at least they now have the benefit of microphones. Some of the moments from the Fringe show, such as the brainstorming dance number, barn stomping dance number that opens the second half, are simply unimprovable. And the MVP of the five-strong cast remains Jack Malone, who brings effortless distinction to his vastly different roles. From Dottie submarine captain to camp weepy coroner to but it's as Hester Leggett, MI5's longest serving matron figure, that he steals the show. Whatever's next for his production, expect his rendition of Dear Bill to be breaking hearts for some time to come. It did get some 5-star reviews from like The Guardian, but I mean, we've spoken about how the 5-star reviews thing has impacted its perception. So let's talk about the cult of the Minfluencer a bit, because I found some articles talking about it. So there is a journalist, Sebastian Payne, who is a self-described influencer, who did a piece in the Times about it, saying, until you've seen Mincemeat more than once, you can't quite appreciate why it's worthy of such devotion. It is to indicate that each viewing you so intricate that each viewing you spot new facts. 5 members of Split Troupe play 84 characters. Switching so rapidly it is impossible to keep track of them in one sitting. Zealous fandoms for musical are nothing new. Think of Rent in the 1990s, or Hamilton a decade ago. In both instances, they captured the zeitgeist whilst inspiring passions thanks to their scripts, music, lyrics, and cast. But Mincemeat arrived in the online era. I'd argue Hamilton arrived in the online era, forging a greater sense of community. It's Discord community who plays understudy bingo, seeking to rack up their viewings of every cast combination. I do like understudy bingo. I think that's very fun.
Yeah.
Operation Mincemeat fans would create. Oh, and then this is the other thing with Mincemeat fans, which I like. Operation Mincemeat fans would create a Finding Hester hashtag to help fill in the backstory of a character, finding out her name was originally spelt with A rather than an E, where she went to school, when she passed her piano exams, by comparing handwriting that she was indeed responsible for the secret letters. As a result, they would install a plaque at the Fortune Theatre in December 2023. I think I'm going to keep quiet about that plaque thing until we get to our thoughts, because I also have a thing to say about how that links in with the plot. Um, in the piece in the Times, they would say they like gained it because of how good it was. Unlike the rather dry 2021 film about a deception cipher starring Colin Firth, the musical is funny. Lyrics are full of innovative wordplay and dry humor. Staging is simple yet effective. The soundtrack fuses genres from traditional musical theatre to K-pop. If you need to pick up on the commute, whack on Making a Man and you will not stop, and you will soon be foot tapping. Above all, it's refreshing to enjoy a new British musical that is not another Andrew Lloyd Webber creation. The influencers would also help in their campaign when do you remember this? Their ads got banned on the tube for looking like graffiti.
Yeah.
At the 2024 Olivier Awards, it would be nominated for Outstanding Musical Contribution, Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Zoe Roberts, Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Jack Malone, Best Actor in a Musical for David Cumming, Best Actress in a Musical for Natasha Hodgson, and Best Musical. I still think Claire Marie Hall was robbed. That's my take on those nominations. It would win Best Actor in a Supporting Role in a Musical for Jack Malone, Best Musical, and Best Musical. Any nomination it didn't win, Sunset Boulevard got it, because that was the big thing that year. Then they would do a very strange cast changeover when they wouldn't talk to the press. And one day everyone was gone. Classic Mincemeat producing. Just don't talk to the press. Then they would start doing graffiti on the streets of New York and raise their price and extend a shit ton of times. They would announce their Broadway transfer on the 1st of October last year with the opening at the John Golden Theatre where Stereophonic was. Love you, Pookie. The original London cast would transfer with the production. It would officially open on the 20th of March 2025 after 33 previews. The New York Times would say, but is it funny? Whether Operation Mincemeat is delving into the irksome musical comedy about a plan works as well as depends on your own answer to that question. A hit in London, it has come to Broadway where it opened on the Thursday on the John Golden Theatre, having paid close attention to differences in accents, dialogue, and usage between the British and American audiences. Public school here is private school here. Public school there is private school here. But neither the authors, a collective known as Split Lip, nor the director, Robert Hasty, have given sufficient thought to our different senses of humour. There's you will recognise. First, they want to mock public school troughs and buttery brass who populate MI5. The agency had developed a plan. They are offered as idiots, freaks, over-entitled snobs. But when you think the show is just one long variation on the Python's Ministry of Silly walks routine, swerves it to a different target, men's stupidity about women. Hired to serve tea, Jean Leslie leads the other girls in a Beyoncé tribute called All the Ladies, making the most of employment opportunities now that the boys are off fighting. Yet the women, too, are serialized and presented as blithe opportunists. At the top of Act 2, a producer's homage named Das Umberbatch, complete with K-pop precision dancing.
What did you just say?
I don't know German, okay?
Übermensch.
Übermensch. Complete with K-pop precision dancing. Okay. And swastika propellers. The James Bond creator, Ian Fleming, who worked on the project as a naval intelligence officer, also gets ribbed. In the glitzy finale, named A Glitzy Finale, almost pokes fun at musical theatre itself. No doubt these are all worthy targets, but they tend to be targeted in the same way, regardless of how worthy they are. Similarly, as the show swerves from topic to topic, its songs mostly stay in one place. Many of the rhythmic derivatives verging on rap, fine for solos but incomprehensible chorically, especially when the rhymes are so vague. Moscow and Crossbow made my ears cringe. The tiny orchestration of keyboards, bass, and drums doesn't help. You leave Operation Micemeat at that. A show trying to be something it isn't. Like the corpse in its borrowed uniform. I assume it's purposeful as the satin costumes by Ben Stones looks cheap. Yet on occasion, amid the tiresome glee, split lip authors prove themselves to be capable of much more. Unexpectedly, a character who seemed to be a stock figure, a dowdy matron chuckling over the girls in her charge, examines something richer and better, raising the show along with her. She is Hester Leggett, portrayed in a drag tradition of the musical by Jack Malone. Gender is a revolving door as all 5 actors as they quirkily sketch dozens of supporting roles. Though her MI5 colleagues assume Leggett and a administrative assistant is a confirmed bachelorette, which all implies when they are asked to help write a letter to a corpse that will carry to her fictional sweetheart, her own lost love comes out. She explains while singing Dear Bill, which is a fabulation and a true feeling mix to glorious effect. There are other washes of seriousness and thus beauty amid the hyperactivity of Hasty's staging. Sail on Boys is an anthem in the style of Elton John. Not sure about that one.
Really?
Yeah, New York Times, you lost me. I
Like Sail on Boys is a great song.
would say that's one of the better scores. That and Dear Bill. I would say it's more folky.
Yeah, it's a like um
It's a sailor song.
yeah, a sea shanty, that's what they're called.
Yes, yeah. That's what we were looking for. Um, Called on to carry out the deception. In the end, horror, at least many of them in name, is restored to the real person, formerly known as just some tramp whose body was used in the mission. He was Glyndor Michael and gets a suitable send-off. Um, Variety would say, think of it as Monty Python on speed. Then throw in some Ealing comedy studio wit and a bit of beyond the fringe slyness. Too British? Not if you want to laugh uproariously, perhaps unexpectedly shed a tear or two. The five-actor ensemble, under their nimble direction of Robert Hasty, takes a cuckoo, a wee bit annoying, a cuckoo, sorry, wait, and a wee bit annoying premise, and minds it for every jam and laugh, be big or small or shameless. Then the creators add a bit of an infectious and eclectic score that includes expeditional rap, thank you Hamilton, sea shanties, ballads, and even some electronic dance number with K-popping Nazis, thank you Mel Brooks. Supporting the officers are two unsung women from the secretarial pool, long-serving and prim and proper Hester Leggett and the young, underappreciated clerk Jean Leslie. Both bring a sweet wistfulness to the show with a song about those who might dream are destined but are not destined to reserve glory or even a thank you for their service. But the emotional highlight is all Malone's as Hester's composes a heartbreaking fake letter that is not a love letter, yet very much is. The second act becomes almost too much of a good thing, overstuffed with its large but true subplots, incidental characters, and plenty of switcheroos. At the end of it all, it comes together as it builds to a glitzy finale, appropriately titled A Glitzy Finale. Rightfully no longer an anonymous man, Glyndor Michael was his name, whose body was used in this incredible plot, is honoured too. A touching reminder amid the comic madness and theatrical joy. Time for you to read the synopsis.
Lord.
It's highlighted at the top of the page.
It's 1943 and the Allied forces are on the ropes. Luckily, they've got a trick up their sleeve. Well, not up their sleeve per se, but rather inside the pocket of a stolen corpse. Equal parts farce, thriller, and Ian Fleming style spy caper with an assist from Mr. Fleming himself, Operation Mincemeat tells the wildly improbable and hilarious true story of the covert operation that turned the tide of World War II.
So, should we go to your notes?
Yes.
You have written out the good and the bad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Should we start with the good?
Yes.
Okay.
So we did like 5 songs that we thought were really good.
I would add Dear Bill to that thing, but I do agree with what you've said about it being too long in the bad.
Yeah. Making a Man, Sail on Boys, Just for Tonight, Useful, and Act as If.
Yes,
I
I.
said were the best songs, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And since writing this and since seeing it, I have listened to recording.
Yeah. Every so often I'll be like, maybe my opinion's changed, and I give it a listen. I'm like, no.
And it's a thing of, with the exception of, for sure, all the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bevan's update, I'm just not the biggest fan of, but it's fine.
Is that the one where
Um,
they're rapping?
yes.
Okay.
And a glitzy finale.
Mm.
I don't mind
Oh, I
any of the
hate
other
that song.
songs. What,
about
a
being
Glitzy finale?
about being a tadpole or whatever.
What, Dead in the Water?
Yeah, I hate that song.
It's predictable. And that's not a bad thing. I love predictable songs. But I will always remember sitting in some of the worst seats in a theatre that I've ever sat in.
Yeah. And we've signed some shockers.
And we've sat in some bad seats. And looking through the program that I bought,
Yeah.
and they had a song list.
Yeah.
And Esme points at Dead in the Water, and she goes, "That's going to be an I Want song."
Yep.
And it started, and I was like, "Fuck, it is an I Want song."
Well, no, one of the first things he says is, I want to be a tadpole or whatever. And I was like, oh, for God's sakes.
I'm gonna get out what he says.
I hate being right.
Well, the opening. No, he has a sad bit first. He says, "If I had a touch of that courage,"
Oh, yeah.
and then like 5 lines in, he goes, "If only things were different. If only I were different. I wish I was a maggot."
Yes. When he did that, I was like, oh, I'm right. And then I also went, All the Ladies is going to be like a sixth song almost.
Yeah.
I feel like I outsmarted Mincemeat and didn't turn my brain off enough.
Yeah. But I think there is one bit that I really like, both the line for the lyrics and the way he sings it.
Mm.
The "one day I'll metamorphosize, as scales will tumble from their eyes, and thus shall end this wretched old routine." I think that's a really, really good line.
Yeah. I mean, there are some good lyrics in the song, but I find when they're in the context of the songs, they don't have the impact they could have.
I can do my review of every single one of these songs, by the way, if you want. Well, shall we do that?
Sure, yeah, yeah. Oh, I do want to talk about one scene that I find myself pondering when I'm thinking about Mincemeat. Actually, two, before we do songs.
Hmm.
One of them is the one where they're in Spain and they're coming in and out of the office.
That one's quite good.
I thought that was funny. The other one that stuck with me, I'm like that. I have many, many thoughts about that. It's the whole discussion around plaques and notoriety.
Yeah, useful. The song.
Useful the song. But then at the
I
end,
think it's a really, really good song.
I think it's a good song, but then they don't follow up on it and they never resolve it. And so I'm like, what's happening there?
Let's you know what, let's stick to the good
Okay, okay.
and then we'll get to the bad. And then, okay, let's do the good, the bad, and then we'll do song reviews.
Yeah.
I think in part, like this is kind of leaning towards song reviews. I think a lot of the songs are really, really good. Like with the exception of, it's mainly just All the Ladies. I really can't stand it. And I think I can guarantee it's just a personal preference thing. It's not my style of musical theatre.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a little bit cringe.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever floats your boat. I don't care that people like it. You know, people go to war for Six.
Yeah.
And I enjoy Six. It has its moments.
Mm.
But I don't know, All the Ladies just is never going to be a song for me.
No.
And I think I've put on this list when we saw it. I think it is funny. Like genuinely, I think it is actually a very funny show.
I think it's objectively funny. I just don't know if it's my sense of humor.
I think it's really my sense of humor. It's like I find it. I was listening to Born to Lead like a while ago, and I actually laughed out loud in my room at one of the lines.
It's not my musical comedy. Like my musical, if I'm listening to a musical comedy, it's kind of gotta be a Death Becomes Her, where it's so
Yeah.
outrageous and it's constantly raising the stakes. But I feel like that's just because it's the musical comedy I've kind of grown up on.
Yeah. Like I really liked this is one, it's like a whole verse in Born to Lead that I think is so good. And it's just that "you're sure to save the nation, Nanny told me in my cot. For your father gave you courage, also ponies and that yacht.
That is
My
a good line.
centuries of my centuries of reading, I know they'll fail me not." And then this one was the bit that made me laugh out loud. "For fortune favors bravery, and a fortune's what I've got." It's like, fuck, that's hilarious. That's a really good line.
That is a good line. I forgot about that line because I don't listen to it.
Yeah.
But when it's coming at you really fast. You can't really sit in the joke, and there's a time to sit in the joke, and there's a time to keep going.
Oh, to be fair, the other bit that was really the thing is when it started with Born to Lead, I was like, oh, I see why this has gotten 5-star
Mhm.
reviews because it's hilarious. Like, there's the bit when it's Montague and Chumley,
Yeah.
and Montague's like, oh, you're new to MI5, aren't
Mm.
you?
Hmm.
And he goes, no, I've worked here for 6 years. You're drinking out of my mug. It's got my face on it. And it's turned the mug to the audience, and it does just have a picture of David Cummings' face on it.
And I remember that part, and I
It's
remember
hilarious.
I just don't think about it often. This is what I'm learning.
Like, that's the thing. It starts so strong.
I
And
see
then
why they
even,
perform it on like the Olivier's and the Tonys.
yeah, I think even like, God, that's brilliant. It's quite funny. Because
Oh,
you start to get the like Ian Fleming jokes.
and the staging's really good on that because they are always the way that it's like this is gonna sound so dumb, but you know that number in Black Friday
Yes. Yes.
where they were queuing for the Wiggly. It's like that, and I was like, oh, this is really smart.
Yeah. It's there's also I think it's in when they're pitching Operation Mincemeat.
Yes.
And they have the other like ensemble members that aren't Comley and Montague.
Mm.
Portraits that
Huh?
like when they're like, oh, you're what's okay. I'm just getting up all the lyrics. My earbuds is gonna be fucked today, I'll tell you that.
Well, we all know
Um,
Andrew Lloyd Webber's gonna be my top artist this week,
yeah.
and then it's gonna be Stereophonic, a fake band who don't even have a name.
So they pitch it to Bevan,
Mm.
and I think they're like, yeah, that's okay. And then they say you'll have to convince these like old generals.
Yes.
And the rest of the cast come out and they're holding like painted portraits of old military generals.
Mm.
One of them's like Nelson. And they're holding them and they're doing this stupid voice. And it's like at one point, I'm trying to think if this is in the recording because I remember it so clearly that I feel like I must have listened to it recently.
Yeah.
It might be in Making a Man.
Making a Man's great.
Making a Man, possibly the best song in the show.
Making a Man's great, and I really enjoyed Just for Tonight. I don't think it's about doing anything revolutionary, but it's decent.
Yeah. Let me find this bit because it's really fun. Like you get Spilsbury making a man who is hilarious.
Pillsbury.
Spilsbury. Where is it? Where is it? Oh yeah. Um they go, now it's a good plan, Charles, but it's got to be approved by every fussy old admiral in this building. Good luck. And they all come out in like these portraits.
Mm.
And then they have their questions. And they're like, well, what's it made of? Stainless steel, won't smell. Well, that's why it's sealed. And it's just this bit where one of them goes, what about the crew when they know there's a corpse aboard? That's a bloody good question. I forgot what I said. And it's such a stupid joke. But I just remember being like, fuck, this is really funny. This show's hilarious.
I just didn't find it laugh out loud funny the entire time, like everyone else. They were like, "You're dying from laughing." I was like, I chuckled.
I think it's the thing of, I think Act One is really, really strong.
Yeah, I really like. I want to take a butcher's knife to that and like make it just 90 minutes of non-stop chaos.
Yeah.
Because
And I
that's the
think,
issue with comedies. You've got to. It's kind of got to be short.
yeah. Also, I think like the bit when I fully got why they were like, oh my God, this if we're making a musical about this like story, it has to be a comedy,
Yeah,
was when Willie Watkins showed up.
yeah.
And they made a point of being like, no one in Spain is going to believe that two pilots crash landed on their shores, and both of them were named William. And I was
I
like,
mean,
fuck, you're right, they're not gonna believe
it
that.
is very much like English. Like it is like jokes to make English people laugh.
Yeah. Like some of it was clearly targeted at an older audience, like their whole like sangria bit. It was funny in the way where I was like, oh, I know
Oh,
people like that.
oh, people love their sangria.
Oh, people love going
The
to Spain for
whole
a sangria.
I like the whole thing about Brits abroad.
Yeah. Oh, that is unfortunately in a glitzy finale when they're like, we won't be immigrants, we'll be expats.
Will be expats because especially Spain is full of like older people who are like, I'm an expat in Spain, and it's like you're an
Yeah,
immigrant.
I've just found it. Oh, life is tough in sleepy Spain where we have to choose. Well, we have chosen to remain with a platter of tapas and croquet in the sun. It's a nightmare, sir. Well, if we're feeling hot, who needs a beer? A bit of wine and fizzy pop. What's that? Sangria. We're not going back. We'll fancy that. We're immigrants. No, we're British. We're expats. And as someone whose parents are expats,
Are they immigrants
that's
or
fucking
expats?
hilarious. They're expats.
What is the
They will
difference?
always. I think technically it's that expats go abroad for work,
Mm,
as in it's like they get offered a job abroad and move there for the job,
yeah,
which is what my dad did.
yeah, yeah.
But by all accounts, my mother is an immigrant. Um, but really, like it's in general media, it is a race thing, which they
Hmm.
point out, and it's quite
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, and like I mean, immigration's a hot button topic all around the world, but that is a very British way of looking at it.
Yeah, I think the Fleming jokes are really funny as well.
I fear I do need to see this on Broadway just to watch the Americans watch
Yeah,
this because they're enjoying it.
it's just every time they make a joke about the plot of James Bond, it's so good.
Mm,
It's like, would you know, this Fleming fella has gone and written another bestseller. Then the plot synopsis. So he's wearing a shiny tuxedo, and then he shoots a baddie with a
dude,
big gun.
you'll never guess what I've just won. You keep
Um,
talking.
so he's wearing a shiny tuxedo, and then he shoots a baddie with a big gun. Pow, martini good sir, make it shaken not stirred, and then he snogs a sexy lady with full tongue. Their response to this is, my word, he's a genius, the best writer since Jesus.
I'm actually losing my mind. Why is this so
Yeah,
short?
I think this is the thing, is when I'm looking at it like this, I do think it's a really good show.
Mm,
And I do think if I went back to go see it, I would enjoy it because I wouldn't have such high expectations.
I I want to cut it. I want to cut stuff. I want
Yeah,
to cut some stuff that's
I was gonna say,
distracting.
that being said, let's get into the things we didn't like about it when we saw
I
it.
let and I loved Bake Off, but let me take a sledgehammer to that as well.
Bake Off, possibly like one of the best contemporary musicals I have seen. That second act needs a rewrite.
That second act is a mess.
Listen, give me a highlighter and a Sharpie and we will cut that second act down.
Give me highlighter, a Sharpie, and a strong iced coffee, and I can do it.
Um, yeah, let's talk about the bits we didn't like. Because number one, the Nazis.
Yes, I don't think that they had the right level of satire to make it work.
Yeah. I also think that their poster
Yeah,
shouldn't be emulating Hitler.
yes, because Hitler's not really how do I say this normally? Hitler's not really a character in this.
He's obviously mentioned because it's about World War II and they
Yes,
want to kill him.
yes, yes.
But the premise of it is not really about him.
No.
It's about like the more general people
Hmm.
involved in World War II, which is what the show's about.
Yeah.
Like as an overarching theme.
Often people of World War Two.
Yeah. But your marketing, my thing is if they wanted to keep with the like squiggle design, which I kind of get,
Mm.
because I understand that it's meant to be that it seems like a very hastily thrown together plan. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it will work. It looks kind of shit,
And I do like
but
the
it does.
briefcase, and I understand why that's there.
Yeah. I think what it should be, instead of the like squiggle to look like a moustache, it should be a hat. Because that's the image they use at the end of Making a Man, where they hold up the hat in the briefcase
Yes.
in an empty space to symbolize this man that they have created from nothing.
Mm.
I think they should just use that because that's what the show's about.
Mm.
And I think that that would help balance out what I think Mincemeat really struggles to do, which is balancing their comedy with sincerity.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the show is really, really funny. And if this show was just a comedy and
Yep.
was just leaning into these funny bits,
Yep.
I'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really think that there's like when people make the argument of like there are things that you can't joke about.
I think
Like I see it a lot with the Hunger Games. It's, saying there are things you can't joke about is true. But like the Hunger Games a lot, I see people being like, that's so like what the books are actually saying, you can't be making these like funny edits to it. Like
yes, you
you can't be
can.
writing fan fiction, you can't like be taking away from the message. Yes, you can. Here's a
Guys,
piece of
give me
media. Yes, you
give
can.
me all of the funny snow edits.
Like take a look through me and Esme's TikTok DMs.
Yeah.
We love them.
We love him. We love the day in the life of the true Brexit geezer sound to edit. It's one of our favorite
It's
things.
great. It's the same with like Next to Normal.
Oh,
Like people being like, but it's such a serious topic. Like, how can you be making these jokes and it's such a serious musical?
yeah.
I was like, because it's funny.
Because day in the life of a true Brexit geezer sound to Diana from Next to Normal is objectively fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
And kind of works.
yeah. And I think like I don't think I've seen anyone do it. But I don't want to come across as if I'm being like, you can't make jokes about World War II because it was a really serious matter. Obviously you can.
Yeah.
Like, I was gonna say something that we did.
What did we do?
You might have to cut it.
Was it about our communism jokes? We've made so many communism jokes.
Like, trust me, I'm not gonna be the one to say you can't make jokes about that kind of stuff.
We need to see the producers when it comes to
Yeah.
back to the West End because I feel like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
missing a very fundamental piece of what makes mincemeat work.
Yeah. But I think
Mm.
that if Mincemeat was just doing a comedy, it would be fine and I would really enjoy it.
Hmm.
But then at too many turns
Yeah.
and too significantly and done too well,
Yeah.
they keep trying to be really sincere.
Yeah.
So, like, you have a song like All the Ladies,
Yes.
which I think is very, like, as that New York Times review pointed out, it's quite funny. It's poking fun at both men and women.
It's making fun of of people who are opportunists.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, yeah, look, there's this horrible war going on, but guess what, ladies? We have a job.
Yay! Feminism! It's girl boss feminism.
Feminism. Yeah. And I think in some ways I am convinced that the reason it is that kind of song is because it's making fun of that kind of feminism.
And I love a girl boss feminism jokes.
Yeah.
They went to the Lena Dunham School of Feminism. Like that's one of my favorite jokes.
And I think if that kind of song was all we got from the female characters, I think it would make more sense. But then you have a song like Useful, which is an incredible song.
My issue with Useful is that it's never picked up on again. Never, never, never.
Yeah. And I have that as a note.
Yeah.
Opening too many doors.
Like, it opens too many doors. And, like, okay, as I've said, I've done a lot of thinking about Evita this week. Surprise, surprise. But, and I was thinking about the Evita in conjunction with the, what do we call it? The Finding Hester campaign and the plaque. Because historically, Hester never got a plaque or never got any recognition until the musical came along and they found her and da-da-da-da. I would love it if they were to go in and revise the show and add in a note about that and be like, Hester finally got her plaque. Because, and I'm going to link this back to Evita and so my thinking about Evita comment makes sense because when Evita was written in 19, I looked it up today because I wanted to make sure I was right about this, and I consulted my concept album that I own, and it has a lyric booklet at the back. I didn't know that. It's very cool. In 1976, Ava Peron's body was missing. Now, in the musical as it stands, um, there is the last line is, and her body went missing for 17 years.
I heard none of that. You like just completely cut out.
Okay. So in Evita, when the concept album was released in 1976, her body was missing. In
Mm.
1976, her body was then found. So for productions, the line that ends the show is now, and Ava's body went missing for 17 years. So it's closing that loop.
Yeah.
And it is, and the issue with history is that we're always learning and we're always finding more pieces of information out. And for Evita, and especially the production of Evita that's currently playing, that note of her body going missing and then being found really helps add to the point. And the point of Hester finally getting a plaque would really help improve the show, in my opinion.
Yeah. I also think that in a glitzy finale, which is a whole other issue,
Yeah, you hate that so much.
I hate that fucking song. Um,
Things.
what did my dad just text me?
Oh, my dad texted me going, "What time does Rachel do Don't Cry for Me?" Yeah, yesterday when he was out with his workmates, and I was like, "Why are you asking me that?" He was like, "Oh, we might go." I was like, "Okay, this is going
Oh
in.
yeah,
This is going in with the random side quest my dad has done in Central London."
yeah. Um, yeah, I hate glitzy finale, but because it's a like joke on musical theatre, which is fine, love it.
I mean,
Um,
Flame Rotten is a joke on musical theatre from
yeah,
beginning to the end.
but the song they reprise in that
Mm,
for the girls is All the Ladies, which again makes sense with it as a comedy, but you've just done Useful.
yes,
And they even say that they're talking about like we're not going to stop fighting, we'll be useful, like we know we're useful. I was like, why not just do useful
yes,
and be serious for a second?
yes. Because then they go into the part about Glendor Michael, and I do enjoy that as the one of the final images of the show.
Yeah,
I think that's
I
very
think that
suitable.
like that ending is beautiful.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm finding what the actual bit they do is
But also
for all the ladies.
the reality for Hester and Jean Leslie is that they are going to go back to being secretaries. It's also a long song if I'm not. It's like 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's 7 minutes. And I think parts of it are really good.
Mm.
But I think, and to be fair, I think this is going to be like, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say before
I
I get
think
into this, because
yeah.
this is my biggest issue with it. Oh, my last point on the bad was the sudden use of every set piece, special effect, and lighting in the second act when the first act had nothing. That genuinely infuriated me. When the glitzy finale started and stairs turned up, when they had a plane,
The plane, I was like, what the
the plane
where have
like
they
I
been
think
keeping
Esme
this?
turned to look at me when the plane showed up. I said, "What the fuck?" I was like genuinely furious
That you've
because
been
that's
robbed
one
of.
of the reasons that I have. Because one of the reasons I have Act as If as one of the like good parts was lighting was really really fun in that song.
Well, the lighting also has to do a lot of carrying because when you've got no set, you've got to rely on every other technical trick. But turns out they just had a set, they just didn't want to use it.
Yeah, it was like the way they did the lighting in the Just for Tonight
Yeah,
was really good when they kept switching between being like in the club to being on the boat.
yeah. And
It was
balancing
really, really well
in Act
done.
One, they are able to balance the two tensions of it being a very serious war while also being an insane thing that they are trying to achieve.
Yeah. And basically, this is my issue. And I think you have the same issue.
Yeah.
where the story and the actors
Mm.
set you up to think that the joke is going to be about the government. And they
Hmm.
have said this in interviews that the joke is about the government
Yeah.
and about how these people are like out of touch with reality. They don't care about us,
Mm.
yet they are making these decisions.
Yeah.
And that's the serious joke. The other isn't that funny, which is true.
Mm.
But the serious joke is a critique about the government.
Hmm.
Except that in order for them to tell the story, the main characters are the government. So by the
Yeah.
time you get to a glitzy finale, you don't care.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to make this joke about, oh, look at how like all of these people have moved on and they get to do whatever with their lives.
They get to monetize this situation,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, but one, they don't then say, think about all of the like soldiers who
Mm.
died or who have
Hmm.
PTSD or who were disabled in the war. Think about them. They
Yeah.
don't say that,
No.
which is fair because it's meant to be a funny song.
Yeah.
But then to turn around and say in every interview that you are making fun of those guys and you don't want the audience to like them,
Hmm.
don't focus on them.
Well,
Like
there are
by the end of it, you like the government.
yeah, there are many morally grey characters in musical theatre. I mean, I think musical theatre is probably one of the best mediums to explore that. Ava Peron, many debates about whether or not she was a good or bad person, and I think the best uses of this in theatre are when you aren't told to make your own, you aren't told how to feel. You're just presented it, and maybe by directing or lighting or something else, you're inclined to believe a certain way.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like with Mincemeat, they set you up at the beginning with all of these jokes about MI5
Yeah,
and about how like
how it's an
posh these
old
guys
boys
are.
club.
Yeah. And they continue that a lot in the first episode,
Mm,
where they're making fun like it's the same, like even with all the ladies.
mm,
And they on occasion do manage to balance that humour quite well
mm.
with their discussions about Swindle Michael and using his corpse. There's a bit in Making a Man where I think it's definitely Charlie. It's like Sigmund Montague. Oh, but doesn't he have a family? Like, shouldn't we figure out who? Oh no, it's Devon,
Yeah.
and he's like, you know, it's kind of not on to just steal a body. Like that's a
Hmm.
person,
Hmm.
and they're like, they're not like he's not a person. He's a Welsh gardener.
Yeah.
So, and that balances it quite well because you love these characters. They're really fun and entertaining to watch, and we're rooting for them. And
Yes.
then you take a step back and you go, they aren't good people, though, are they?
Oh.
Like in real life, these people were horrific,
Yeah.
but on stage, they're very funny.
Hmm.
And then I think the finale with Glinda and Michael reinforces that, where they suddenly
Yes.
stop being character, they stop doing the like silly posh voices,
Yes.
and they say, "This is who that body was."
Hmm.
We didn't, no one knew up until that point, but they say his name was Glinda Michael. He was a Welsh uh, gardener, I believe.
Yeah.
He died by accidentally, probably ingesting rat poison.
Yeah.
And now on the beach where his body was washed up,
Yep.
there is a plaque for him. And I think that works. The issue is everything in between.
Yes. You can't. You can't start by making fun of someone and then humanize them and then be like, actually, we were just joking.
Yeah. You have to follow through. And it's the same thing they do with Useful,
Yeah.
where they're like, doesn't it suck that women don't get any recognition for this? Like, look at all the effort they've put into, like, look at all the work they put into the war effort. Look at how much they helped this operation. Like, it wouldn't be believable without the Dear Bill letter.
Yeah.
Without the pictures of Jean, it wouldn't
Yeah.
be believable. They were there, they had a helping hand, they were like genuinely making it work.
Yeah.
Isn't it sad that no one really knows about that?
Hmm.
Anyways, here's how the
Uh,
men succeeded.
the men went on to make movies, but it wasn't musicals.
It just, I think this is the issue, is that individually, so much of it is good.
Yes.
When I'm listening to the recording and I can skip through bits, it's
Hmm.
great. And I'm like, you know what? Every musical has songs that I don't like that I'll skip.
Yeah.
this is a good show. It's when I have to look at the whole plot and the whole way it's laid out. It's like it's missing a bit.
It is. It like
It's
I
missing
wish
a
they could.
part of its message.
I wish they could just focus it a bit more so they can make it great. But everyone's already said it's great, so that's gonna.
And I think that's the thing, is I do think it's a really good musical.
Yeah.
It's just the two things for me that make me like dislike it
Mm.
is one, the ticket prices. Fuck those fucking ticket prices.
They're ridiculous. Ridiculous,
They
ridiculous.
are stupid.
Yeah.
And two, just this like lapse in its message.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't follow through on it. It's
Hmm.
missing a bit.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way I can try to like put it into words. Like when I'm watching it, I think I left the theater and I was like, it's good, but
We
I
were
definitely
like,
didn't say it. I didn't say it was good when we left the theater.
no, we couldn't really talk about it. We struggled to talk about it. And I don't know if you guys can tell, me and Nell are quite good with our words.
Yeah,
We can normally talk about anything. Like, and it wasn't like it wasn't like when I left Weird Oklahoma where I had to like walk a bit and then think about it and go, that was and then I was able to like talk about it some more once I thought about it. It was just kind of one of those things where it was just like, huh?
yeah.
Yeah. Or it wasn't like when we
It's
left
just
Comet and we were like, I don't know what to talk about. That was so good.
like with this one, it just I'm like really struggling to phrase this right.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to get at because I was stood next to you being like, what the hell did I just see? I have no idea how to feel about this.
And I do think that like if you scroll down, um,
Oh yeah,
there's
the
this
review.
guy, all that Jack on TikTok.
Yeah.
I actually don't know if he's still posting.
This was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Um, but he did a review of Operation Micemeat, and then in his caption, he said, "I do feel that Operation Micemeat is a victim of its own success, though. Make
Mm,
no mistake, this is a solid show with a fantastic cast and lots of funny moments, but it's not my new hyperfixation show. I'm not completely obsessed, and I don't know why. I wish
yes.
I saw this show earlier in its days. I wish I saw this show in its earlier days because when a show receives as much praise as Mincemeat, 58 five-star reviews currently, when he was writing this,
Mm.
people will visit the show expecting a masterpiece in modern theatre. That said, Mincemeat is still a really enjoyable night out at the theatre, and I'd absolutely recommend it to friends."
Yeah.
I think that's the issue, is that I went into this being like, this is going to be the best show I have ever seen.
I am going to feel like I understand theatre in a new way. And like yesterday I saw Stereophonic, which is the most Tony nominated play in history, got very good reviews. On Broadway, got good reviews in London, not as good. And I did like the first act is so long. And I was sat there and I was going, really? This is the most Tony nominated play in history? It's not outstanding. And then I grew to love it because it's Stereophonic is made in a lab for me to love. But I still have that high expectation of it, you know? And so it's not just a Mincemeat thing, but with Mincemeat I can so clearly see where the good is and I can so clearly see where the bad is.
It's why I think that like we had such an opposite reaction to Bake Off, the musical,
Yeah. Yeah.
because every single review we saw was like, this is the worst show
This thing is a
ever.
train wreck, and
This
it
thing
kind of
sucks.
is. It kind of
It
is a
is.
train wreck.
And it was just every time I saw a bad review, I would text Esme, I'd be like, we just have to go and see this, don't
We
we?
just like we're
We
like
just have to go.
and guys, we regret every day because we were in London not seeing opening night.
Yeah. But it was just, we were told it was going to be shit. And then we sat down and we watched it and was like, wait, this is actually like fine. And because we were told it was going to be so bad, like it was great.
There are issues. I think it could be a great 90-minute, and I think that we could cut this, this, and this. But I had a chuckle.
I think if Operation Mincemeat had got the reviews that Bake Off did,
Mhm.
we went to go see it when we did.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying this because I still have like my own bias of it from everything.
Yeah.
But I think we would like it.
Yeah.
Like even with the ticket price, we'd be like, that's really weird, but whatever. It's a good show.
I'd still be a hater on the ticket prices. I love Les Mis. I think it's one of the best things ever. Cameron lower those ticket prices.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I don't know. I think it's such a bizarre show to try and talk about because I should love it.
yeah, yeah.
And I just kind of, it's like how I felt with Your Lie in April.
Oh my God, yes.
When I was like,
You
this
were like,
show was engineered for me, and
yeah,
I just have
no, like
no interest in
that
seeing
is
it.
now stereophonic.
Yeah,
Like how like stereophonic is engineered in a lab for me because it's a piece of media about LA in the 70s, but it's also about music and Fleetwood Mac, kind of. Like Your Lie in April, an anime on stage with music by the Bonnie and Clyde guy. Lab for now.
but like that anime is one of my favorites ever. I think
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I still listen to the soundtrack of it sometimes because I think it's just gorgeous.
Mhm.
They announced it was a musical. I was like, wow, I just kind of like don't care.
I don't think this needs to be musicalized.
Like half if like my sister texted me tonight and said, next time you're home, let's rewatch Your Lie in April. I would say yes, absolutely. I've been waiting for you to ask. If
Looking
she
for
texted me and said, do you want to come and see Your Lie in April, the musical with me? I'm like, I kind of don't.
kind of don't care.
Like, maybe, but probably not.
um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Mincemeat.
I think the longer and longer I've sat with it,
mm,
I just want to like it more and more.
yeah, I love loving theatre.
I want to
It's
be
so
part of the
fun.
club, guys. I want to be an influencer. I promise I really, really do.
Let me in,
I'm scared of
guys.
Jack Malone.
Huh?
I'm scared of Jack Malone, okay?
I'm
I'm scared
21
he's gonna comment again.
I'm 21 and afraid of Jack Malone.
I'm 21 years old and I'm terrified of Jack Malone.
I'm more scared of other people. It's fine.
I did find it really funny when people were like, Jack Malone is a straight cis guy.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. He's like, did you not guess that from how he is the bone of the show? Like straight cis men are the backbone of musical theatre.
We're
That's a
joking,
joke,
obviously.
guys. That's a joke.
Happy Pride,
Um,
everybody.
Happy Pride.
Um, his his
Oh,
his Tony speech was great.
yeah. I do want to say,
Gender is really interesting in it,
yeah,
and I've always said
because that was the reason that I was like, let's just do Operation Mincemeat then.
yeah.
Because I think with everything going on in the world, guys, let's get serious. With everything going on in the world,
And
I
like
think it's
I had the thought, when was it, yesterday, where I was like, why don't we get more political about current events on the podcast? And I was like, girl, it's a musical theatre podcast.
it's
Theatre
a musical
is
theatre one.
it is political, and when it applies, we bring it up, but I don't feel like we need to be shouting from the rooftop all that's wrong with the world to like virtue signal to people. But like this is a case where it makes sense to bring it up.
Yeah. I do think it's very important to talk about like gender and queer gender,
Hmm.
especially in musical theatre, because I think we said this in the Bring It On episode.
Well, yes, because Bring It On does quite a bit for trans rights.
Yeah, but there's just not a ton of like non-cis representation on stage.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that like Mincemeat does that really, really well.
yeah.
Like even in All the Ladies, which is kind of making fun of these women,
Hmm.
the joke is not these guys are in a dress.
It's
Isn't that
not like a
funny?
Tootsie or a Doubtfire, where it's like, haha, guy in a dress, haha, isn't that so fucking funny?
Yeah. And it's like when people were talking about um how Hester Leggett is like a kind of drag tradition of a man playing woman. I don't think it is because it's done so fully seriously.
It's done with such sincerity, and they're never the butt of the joke.
Yeah. It's simply that I think Jack Malone was the best fit to play Hester Leggett.
Yeah,
So
and
they cast him.
he is great.
And I think it's that same thing of with Natasha Hodgson playing Montague.
Hmm.
Like they said this in an interview somewhere where they were talking about how it like makes you think about the character more because it's the character has a sense of entitlement that you don't tend to see
Mm.
from women.
Hmm.
And so it's really interesting to see a character act like it's the most normal thing in the world
Mm.
when they don't look like we expect them to.
Yeah.
It'd be like I think it would be really, really interesting to cast a like non-white actor
Yeah,
Montague.
yeah. And like you
Because I
can
think that
see,
gets point that they're trying to make in the show
yeah.
about like the criticisms of these characters
Also,
way
like,
more evident even with the lapse in like the actual show story.
hmm it also like it goes further to prove the point of within theatre you can do such interesting things with gender, and theatre is really ultimately a space where kind of anything goes.
Yeah. Like I think with the like no we're British, we're expats bit,
Mm.
that almost, and I am gonna make this comparison.
Okay.
I do feel that a lot of parts of Mincemeat want to be Hamilton
So badly.
so badly. And I
You
do
can
feel that
tell
the nowhere
you
expats,
you can tell that they wrote this in 2017 when everyone was listening to the Hamilton soundtrack, and I can't even hate because I was listening to the Hamilton soundtrack in 2017.
um, but I feel like what they want is the nowhere expats line to get the same kind of reaction, or it's written with the same intent that the immigrants we get the
Get
job
the job
done line.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't think it has the same meaning.
No. Especially not in the like I mean the whole expats versus immigrant thing is a quite a British discussion and notion in the same way of like immigrants creating America
Yeah.
and that whole thing that whole stereotype that's wrong about immigrants being lazy and whatnot um being almost rebutted in immigrants we get the job done.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, in the same way that I think Hamilton makes really, really interesting points with like the race of their casting.
Hmm.
I think Mincemeat does something very, very similar with the gender of its casting.
Yeah.
And I will say, um, in all the replacement casts
Hmm.
and like cast changes, they've stuck with the same formula.
I would like them to break it.
I would
Okay.
like them to do something new. I think it'll like even though I get why the way they have it right now works,
Yeah.
I think it would be really fun to just like play around with it a bit. Because that's why I also think the understudy bingo was so interesting.
Yes.
Because they didn't have like an understudy for each actor. I think they have like three swings.
Yeah, but they like if you play a male presenting role, you are no, like it's like there are a certain number of men and there are a certain number of women in the cast, if that makes sense, and they go on for
Yeah,
the same roles. If I hope I'm explaining myself correctly. In my head, I'm making sense.
yeah. But it's kind of like someone who covers Montague won't also cover Hester.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
In part, I think that's very fair because you cannot expect someone to learn all five parts.
Yeah.
But I do, in my memory, they are a little bit looser with the like understudy and swing casting,
Mm,
where it's not like this is just in my head because I'm pretty sure I have seen a woman go on for Hester,
I don't think I
but I
have.
might be
No,
making that up.
I think I would. I don't know how I'd feel about that. I think it's always a man or a male
Yeah,
presenting person.
which I think is fair. Like I get the point they're making with it. I think it's a very
Yes.
good point.
Yes.
But I also just do. I would like to see it played by a woman,
I think
just for the sake of it, of being like, what would it say? What would change how I view this show?
it's so fluid in its nature that you can have fun with it. And I mean that's why I'm kind of intrigued to see schools start to do it.
Yeah,
What
I
would an
also think
all
it'd
what
be
would
like
it like let's be real here, like what would an all female Operation Minceme look like?
I think it'd
All
be really
female presenting.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's my same thing of I think it'd be really interesting to see like a male presenting person play Jean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does that change how you view the character?
Yeah.
And I get like with each character, I've said this about 50 times already. I get why they cast it the way they do
Yeah.
because the implications. Whenever I say that, by the way, because I feel like I've said it a couple times now on this podcast, I am quoting the guy who didn't like musicals.
Yes.
Um,
Always. If we're ever
the
saying
implications.
if we're ever saying anything, make sure we're not quoting the guy in like musicals. We quote that script all
We
the time.
probably are. It's the same. I think we talked about this with the Hades Town one too,
I love Hades Town. I need to
where
go
it's
down.
like, yeah, you do.
I
Um,
need to see Dylan Wood.
yeah. But the way like the race changes between the characters changes the dynamics. So,
Yeah, like Orpheus on the West End has been mainly played by white guys.
yeah,
Broadway, I know it's been different, but like on the West End, we've had three white guys play Orpheus. What's that saying about the story?
yeah. But I think it's three non-English white
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, we've not had an English or an Orpheus from English. Jack Wolf,
We
if you're
need a
available.
white English man
Jack
to play
Wolf.
Orpheus.
Jack Wolf, if you're available. Give them a call. Give them a call back, please, Jack Wolf. Please, Jack Wolf.
So, yeah, I think it's the thing of I do genuinely want to like mincemeat.
We've really tried, guys. We've tried. And like, here's the other thing with Mincemeat. Do you know how badly I would have loved when the Oliviers came around to be clapping and cheering for it? I was Tom Francis updating about Next to Normal. It was like 9/11 for me because I was like, what do you mean Next to Normal isn't going to win Best Musical again? Because I can never be normal about Next to Normal.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Oh my God! Oh my God! New
what?
Hunger Games casting
I know I
announcement.
saw it, but you were on one, so I didn't want to.
Hold on, I'm looking.
It's Amber, Willie, Welly, Silk and Panache. This Panache came out.
Yeah, they leaked it.
Variety leaked it though.
No, it's because the actor posted a image,
Oh,
like posted an Instagram post and said like at the bottom, "I'm playing Pinesh, by the way."
I thought we were done with the announcements then.
I think that's got to be the last of it.
Yeah, people want um I can't remember her name, but Mr. and Mrs. Everdeen to have their own announcement. Or Maisley, or Merrily, sorry.
Mm.
I could see the case more for Merrily. The Tony Awards, it would be nominated for Best Musical, Best Book, Best Score, Best Featured Actor for Jack Malone. It would only win one, Best Featured Actor for Jack Malone, which is pretty good because we have a contentious, the Tonys have a contentious history with British musicals. See Next to Normal versus Billy Elliot.
Yeah.
Anywho. Um, Next week we've already said what we're doing, but would you like to have the honors of restating it?
We're doing Anne Juliet.
Yeah. Again, you talked yourself. It was really funny watching you talk yourself into it.
Not musicals.
Huh?
Just say that. There are no queer musicals.
Or if there are, we did them last year.
What I even like tried to talk us into doing, and I was like, no, it actually doesn't make sense.
What did you?
I think I looked up a list of gay musicals.
Yeah,
I
we did
went
it.
on like Hi, and I was like, what have they got listed?
Yeah. And we were
I think
like,
a big one was like Hedwig.
yeah,
Did we do?
Hedwig was one that we were like, I feel like we both need to get into it.
Yeah, we need to understand it.
Yeah, we need to understand it. Whereas on Julia, I fear I understand.
I fear I know it.
I've seen it. Anyway,
And I just kept looking through them, and there was just none.
yeah. You first said Anne Juliet, and then you went no, and then you just kept going through and through and being like, but Anne Juliet, crap, we're gonna have to do Anne Juliet, aren't we?
It's just, okay, Fuck, have we done Kinky Boots? No.
You also hate kinky boots.
Yeah, I do. But in fairness, we've done The Prom, which I hate. We're about to do Anne Juliet, which I hate.
But the no, I'm more saying the choice for you was between.
Shows I hate. Yeah, it's just none of them. Oh, and then I was like, oh, we should do Spies Are Forever. And as it was like, I've not seen it.
We'll see no.
Bitch.
I'll watch it at some point this summer.
I mean, realistically, we could have just done like any William Finn.
We discussed a new brain.
Yeah. I think the issue was basically just like, no, it's a bit like too much work.
Wait, no, I think that was Spies Are Forever.
Yeah, because you'd have to watch it.
I have
And
to,
I'd have to rewatch it because it's been way too long since I've watched it.
yeah, and it's so hard doing research for something like that. Um,
The issue is what I realized is that we actually should just like be on their, is it their Patreon or something? Or like do their Kickstarter
Kickstarter.
stuff.
Yeah, get some bonus content.
Because they do like these full ones where they just watch the musical and just talk through it,
Mm,
which would be fucking great for us.
that would be perfect.
But alas,
But last we're broke.
one of us is.
Thank you for rubbing it in.
You're welcome.
Anywho, we will see you next week for Anne Juliet. Nell's not been able to find a replacement in the short period of time. Um, speak to you all next week for Anne Juliet. Bye bye.
Bye.
You sound so happy.